Okay, this morning, my conspiracy theorist genes are just out of control. I had some really vivid dreams last night, nothing to do with what I'm about to say, but then I'm reading my email, okay, just now, and, there's an article about chemtrails on Natural News, which is funny because, whatever, maybe it was one of his citizen journalists. It seems like already kind of a known thing, but, I just did all these videos on ORMES, orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements, and one of the things I remembered about it is when David Radius Hudson first tested his clay, it tested for aluminum silicate, iron, aluminum, and silicon, or something like that. I know aluminum was one of them. And so I started thinking, in a very optimistic sort of way, what if just with the story of the Anunnaki and how they came to mine for gold to spray in their atmosphere, I was like, what if these elite know how to make this monoatomic gold and they're really spraying the monoatomic gold, but when we test for it, it's showing aluminum and barium or whatever, which is incredibly optimistic of me, and it doesn't really fall into the norm of what we tend to see, which is backing both sides of wars and, controlling the currency and injecting unsuspecting children with dangerous vaccines. So then my mind kind of kept going, and I was like, well, let me just look up on the periodic table. I have a chemistry background. Let me see how close aluminum is to gold. Well, it's not really close to gold, and it's not close to any of the other ones. It's like a couple rows over. It is kind of close to boron, so on a side note, I don't know if it has to do with an increase in arthritis as well, because boron strengthens our bones, and a lot of people's bones are just falling apart nowadays, and they're having rheumatoid arthritis and osteoarthritis, and boron actually helps with that. I'm not even itching, it's just a nervous thing. Anyway, so then I went to like another thought, and I was like, okay, let me just go to the Patent and Trademark Office and see what patents there are on gold and aluminum, because maybe I could find a patent. And I pull it up, and there's like a million patents. But one of the things I actually saw, and I'm not going to tell you which one because these guys probably have nothing to do with anything, but it's basically a wireless energy transfer system, and it says variable size resonators, and it's like, okay. So I started thinking about, how the whole, theoretically, it's a Tesla coil like thing that creates these monoatomic elements. And Tesla, his whole dream that got ripped out from under him was to give free energy to all. And then, of course, my mind immediately went to HAARP and all of that. So I'm just out of control this morning, but let me just pose a hypothesis to you with these freaking chemtrails, okay? I'm not saying it's monoatomic gold and these whoever may or may not be spraying them, if they exist, if I'm not just a complete psychopath, which I'm totally not, but I'm sure someone would like to call me one. Let's just say that that it's not the monoatomic gold. What if it's in, like, putting a lot of metals into our atmosphere? Yes, partially it could be to try to plug up the ozone layer, but really we all know at this point that it's keeping heat in. It's not just reflecting heat, and so the earth doesn't cool down as much at night. There's already been science on that. So it's not doing a great job. But what if a side benefit, or the real true thing of it, isn't necessarily to give us neurological diseases, but to get these microparticles in the atmosphere and possibly within us in order to activate some crazy Tesla coil HAARP thing? Like, people talk about HAARP all the time and directed energy beams. If you watch my music video, Paranoid Conspiracy Theorist, at the end, my alternate personality, which does not exist in real life, it was a joke. I don't have an alternate personality. But no, really, she died by a directed, like, energy beam, and she had on her funny aluminum hat, which, there are actually people that buy these special hats because they think it's going to deflect this whatever that they experience. And I don't really want to demean those people at all, because I know that genetically speaking, certain people have different receptors in their body, and they're more sensitive to electromagnetic pulses. So like I said, the song is a comedy, but there's a seed of truth in every satire. So the point is, if there were a group of greedy people who have the Anunnaki bloodline of craziness, and if they really wanted to control the mass population because they think they're smarter than us. Hi, hon, I'm doing a video. And if they're really spraying chemtrails, and it really is aluminum, and it really is going into our brain because it's causing these neurological diseases, and it's staying in our atmosphere, then wouldn't that make it easier to use one of those devices that can send all the energy out wirelessly? I mean, there's patents going on all the time. Like, wireless energy is already all around us, okay? But what if there's always one person that wants to control the world? So just because maybe, I have wireless on my laptop and we have wireless phones, it doesn't end there. There's going to be somebody that wants to have a wireless world tied into one computer source. Yes, I just watched Matrix too, so forgive me, but what if the chemtrails are connected somehow? I don't know. Please give me your thoughts. Like I said, this is an ultra conspiracy theorist video, and so it's almost like it's like a bad ORMES plus HAARP. It's just a nightmare. It's just a freaking nightmare. So the thing is that also that I'm kind of working on, and I'm going to try to post, is let's just say that we are, on a side positive note, let's just say that we are ingesting higher amounts of aluminum, barium, and strontium, and mercury. I've been kind of experimenting with ways that we could detoxify that. There's obviously chlorella, and Natural News, the editor, Mike Adams, he just came out with clean chlorella. I'm actually drinking some right now, where it's grown indoors, so it doesn't, because chlorella attracts metals. So the thought is it could detoxify you, but it also attracts metals like where it's growing. So these are grown indoors and have been tested. He actually went through the process of testing it for heavy metal impurities, and it's really clean. I forget if he said it was from Korea or something. I don't know. Some Asian country. But anyway, it's been tested for impurities, and that's why he calls it clean chlorella. So that's, of course, something. Cilantro is great at chelating mercury, but when it comes to barium and strontium, and of course I just X'd out of my periodic table, what you want to look at is you look at the periodic table and you look at the elements, things that are in the same, I believe the same column. Is it the same column or the same row that compete? Chris? Okay. He just got home, but he's in the other room. Anyway, they're going to compete. So things that are close to each other are going to compete for, like zinc and copper, actually I think they're side by side, are a perfect example. If you look at the periodic table, they compete for absorption in your body. So I'm going to start kind of brainstorming that, there's a lot of people taking these zeolites, and that seems like it would be a natural source of these ORMES, the good one. It is an aluminum silicate though, but it's in this like molecular cone, honeycomb shape, where supposedly the aluminum won't get out and it just traps these metals inside of it. That sounds great theoretically, but you've got to understand, I personally, after I had my first child, did like a lot of cleansing, and I believe I did too much. I took bentonite clay, and I did like a parasite cleanse at the same time, and I think that it was just too much on my system, and I had mineral deficiencies for a very long time. Now, supposedly zeolite is not dangerous, but for as far as depleting minerals like calcium and magnesium and zinc, but it can be, from what I've read, a risk as for electrolytes like sodium and potassium. And so I really believe that just trying to search for that tree of knowledge and take this stuff is just really, I'm just not into it, because I damaged my own body trying to do too many cleanses and too many weird things. And so I really want to stick to the organic food. But there are natural chelations, things like the cilantro and the chlorella, and just putting in the good minerals will displace the bad minerals. Like mercury can compete for, what is it mercury competes for? There you are. Don't show your boxers. On the periodic table, what is it? It displaces something in our neurology. Anyway, the point is, let's just say it's, I don't know, zinc or whatever. Mercury can displace zinc. If you consume more zinc, you can, in my opinion, you can kind of help push it out. Like plumbing, there's two ways. So you've got a clogged pipe full of mercury. You can either suck it out and leave a big vacuum there, which is like what chelation therapy would do, or you can push the good stuff in and it'll shove the bad stuff out. And I'm on that side of things. So anyway, of course I always bring it back to nutrition, and I'm not a doctor, blah, 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 don't listen to me. Okay, this is me looking out for you. Please tell me what you think about this whole crazy idea of the chemtrails inducing this HAARP mind Tesla thing, and how it's like, basically it's like a bad ORM. It's like bad ORMES plus HAARP.